So for our next interview for the Meguiars Ultimate Passion, we have JD and Sean here with a 1981 Starlet. And we got to do this interview because it's super dope to see how far this car has come along in the last 4 years. So tell us, where did you find this car?
I actually found it in San Francisco, and I drove it down on a super windy day, and I just remember jumping lanes every time I got hit with a gust of wind.
Yeah.
But yeah, I made it home. I drove it around. I drove it to Mexico a few times to work on Fear the Walking Dead. And then right after that, I basically handed it off to Sean to just do a Sunroof Delete.
Okay, okay. So, and Sean, you were like, I can do that, or were you like, this car's in pretty rough condition, or what?
The car actually itself was in pretty stock form, and it was clean. I mean, it was clean for a 1981 Starlet.
Right.
But he brought it in for the moonroof delete, and so.
Oh wait, hold on! I didn't even see this. This is okay.
So that initially wasn't even there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it came in. It wasn't a factory moonroof. It was an aftermarket one, or else he probably would.
Really poorly done.
Yeah, so it was leaking real bad, and so we cut out the moonroof. We made the panel and ran the beads through to get it all looking stock, and then it kind of snowballed from there.
Okay, as it always does.
It was like, hey, can you shave the marker lights?
Yeah, yeah.
And so then we shaved the marker lights.
So which was over here somewhere?
They were right
so
the front.
Oh, okay,
marker lights were here.
Got it.
And then there was another set in the rear. And then he had, initially you had Tom's 13s, but they were 6s, right?
Yeah.
And so then
they were really small.
Yeah, so he ended up picking up the 8s and decided he wanted to go with a flare. So what we did is we went with we used a VW MK1 Rabbit flare.
Okay.
Reshaped them to fit and work on the Toyota Starlets. And so we got rid of the Rabbit body lines and then tied in the Starlet body lines into the flares. We ended up getting 2 fronts, a left and the right for the front, and another left and the right set of fenders to graft them into the rears.
How long did that take you?
About a week.
Yeah, about a week-ish.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you promised a week and got it done in a week?
Yeah, pretty
Well,
much.
on those, yes.
I just want to state something because I always know you take it to a shop and they go, oh, it's going to take a month, and then it takes 8 months, then it takes 12 months, you know, and it's just, I like the fact that if Sean says something, I just want people to know that, like, if he says something, it gets done.
Yeah, well, Sean's my buddy, so there's also that little thing where I'm like, oh, you said a week. I'll be at your shop every single day, man.
But you know, also, but the thing is, sometimes when you're friends with people, what ends up happening is they're like, they start putting on the back burner.
It does. And so one thing that I did is I tried to work well with his budget.
Okay.
So if he had a budget a month, we would get as much as we could done in that month on that budget.
Got it.
And so the build itself was 4.5 years.
Yeah, it's close to 5, yeah.
Yeah, close to 5 years. So, I mean, we just worked with the budget. But the problem is I upselled him on so much. Because I come from hot rodding, so like I wanted to hot rod this thing at the same time.
Right, right.
So I would be like, hey, this would be cool if we did this, and he'd be like, yeah, that would be cool. Let's do that. And
So it sounded like Sean like had the vision already and then made the sale to JD.
Initially, I was only going to do a 4AGE.
Okay.
And Sean liked the beams, and then I watched a bunch of videos on beams.
And you were instantly sold.
And I was instantly sold, which sucked because I already had the 4AGE motor mounts for this car.
Got it.
So I had everything ready to go. I didn't buy the motor yet.
Oh, okay.
So we found a beams motor, and
Okay, hold on. Let's
it.
open this up real quick. So let's show people the beams. Oh, the secret to hacking this car. So now they know.
Yeah. You need my motor?
If you need a motor, you got a free beams motor right here.
We're going to change that, please.
so the motor will actually be painted to match the interior. After Sema, we're going to pull it back out, clean it up, and paint it. But so we got the beams, we modified the motor mounts to get it in. The only thing we had to do was recess the firewall back. But since we were recessing the firewall back, we ended up cutting out the entire firewall to make a cleaner one.
Right.
And we got rid of all the factory stampings. We shaved everything in the engine bay, but we kept the 3 stripes that were initially put there by the dealer.
Oh.
And then
So it has a little bit of a touch there.
yeah,
Nice.
and then we added those same 3 stripes onto the firewall.
Okay.
Also to play into TRD with the 3 racing stripes.
Nice. Very,
And so-
very nice.
Yeah.
So we got the beams in it, we got it fit. We didn't like the plastic valve cover, so I got rid of that. I wanted to backdate the motor a little bit.
Right.
So we shaved the valve cover and cleaned it up, and then it'll be wrinkle coated after Sema, and then we went with 4AGE ITBs, and then we made our own intake manifold to flip it over upside down to put the TPS in the back so it's hidden, and the throttle linkage underneath so you don't see any of the cables.
Right, nice.
Wanted to clean it up, and it's fully wired right now, and ideally, like, we have the mil-spec harness in the back on the firewall, just getting everything tucked away. The engine bay is actually painted in the Miami blue, but it's satin finish, where the outside of the car is the polish. And ideally, it's so when you look in, you're not looking at the engine bay. All your attention goes to the jewelry in the box.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting detail, because you're right. It does. It is visible, but your eye doesn't go to it because it is not glossy. So it has that element that is present, but not overwhelmingly present.
And Radium, they were so nice to us, and they gave us a full sponsorship. So we really wanted to accentuate all the parts that they gave us to use. So everything there, like as soon as you
all the
open
fuel
it up,
system and the oil catch can system is all Radium. They gave us everything we needed for it, and we just plumbed it all in. We got the filter, or the catch can box here, and then we plumbed it into it, and we have a splash guard with the filter behind the fender, and they're tucked away.
Yeah, very nice.
What about suspension?
So suspension, it's on Technotoy coilovers.
Okay.
It's the E86 conversion coilovers with the billet E86 hubs.
Okay.
It is a big, small brake kit.
Yeah.
So we've got the Willwood, their big brake kit, but it's for 13-inch brakes, for 13-inch wheels.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's actually,
it's a pretty tight fit, but they look really good.
4-piston Willwood calipers stubbed in there right now. And then it's their Technotoys sway bar setup, their lower arms, and their uprights.
Yeah.
And then in the rear, GTS rear end, we narrowed it 3 inches to fit into the Starlet. Okay. And then we have a 13-inch brake kit in the rear, and then Technotoy tuning billet arms in the back. The chassis of the car, we added full subframe rails connecting the front frame all the way into the back suspension components, which also tie into the roll cage. And then there's jack points underneath that clamshell the floor in between the roll cage pads. So there's no more crushing the rockers, which on this car were completely crushed.
Yeah, they were gone.
So we ended up cutting out the rockers completely. Bob Grant, buddy from Mini Truck, and he does like roll pans and stuff. He made us new rockers. I sent him the profile. He made a rocker, and we deleted the pinch. And so the rocker goes up underneath and then goes into the floor and plug welds. So when you look at the car from below, it's a nice clean line. It brought the bottom of the car up 3/4 of an inch, getting rid of the pinch weld for more clearance.
Yeah, nice.
And then also tying into the rockers, if you come in to the other side, with keeping everything up off the ground, the whole exhaust was brought up and tucked in.
Right.
And so the exhaust actually comes out the side quarter panel of the rocker.
Right, yeah.
And then we shaped the stainless piece to fit the body lines and to fit into the flare, and then that's riveted on as well.
And then interior, the pedals, which, I got to mess with earlier. So how much work is going to go involving in that to kind of get things to where it needs to be?
So with the pedals assemblies, we sell the pedal plate for the floor mount pedals. The big thing is just getting them positioned right and far enough forward with not having the clearance room. We probably could have went with the swinging pedals, which would have been better, but we wanted the look of the floor mount pedals. And so everything's set up pretty good right now for this guy.
Bigger than me, then
yeah.
sorry,
if you're taller than JD, this car won't fit in you. So the pedals are pretty good. We threw in the Willwood, the Hoon stick.
Yeah, I love that. That is like,
good touch,
it
right?
feels so good too. It feels good, and also when it pulls, it feels nice.
I sat down in the car for quite a while, and we
checked different positionings,
every single point.
And some people said, it needs to be farther forward or whatever, closer, but this car's not set up for drifting. It's just for play, and it's going to be a daily driver too. And so we didn't want it anywhere where the shifter, you're going to accidentally hit it or something, or you didn't want to pull back into 6th gear and your elbow bump it. So it's kicked out, but it's at the right angle, and it's just cleanly to pull.
You said 6th gear. Damn. That's crazy. I can't wait to see this car driving, dude. It's going to be so wild, man. And also 1,400 pounds. 1,400 pounds is what we're looking at. And mid 200s, a little bit lower.
About 210,
210. Okay.
That's stock.
That's stock.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're not stock, but yeah,
Okay.
we'll see what it.
So let's say maybe mid 200s on a car that weighs 1,400 pounds. That's a pretty crazy recipe.
Right?
I like those numbers.
And a 17-gallon gas tank, so I guess I only have to fill up like maybe once a month.
Yeah.
That's
It'll
amazing.
be great for the road rallies.
All right, guys. So tell me in terms of hurdles, like what was like the biggest hurdle on this car? I mean, I know it took a long time, but what was like the biggest holdback?
One of the things for me on this car, sourcing parts.
Yeah. Parts was hard.
Like everything nowadays, right? Just
So it's just like the gaskets. We were able to keep the original gasket, recondition it, clean it, and just condition the crap out of it to get it to look new.
Right.
Like the door run channels, I'm trying to find better ones. The ones that are on here right now are for a 66 Chevy C10.
Okay.
Because they fit, they were like the closest size to work, but the original Starlet stuff was just so worn out. And it's the stuff like the felt in here, we just can't get them for the early Toyotas.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so that was probably the hardest part. I mean, we were luckily.
There's a good Starlet community, so.
Yeah, like right in the last probably few weeks, there was a few interior pieces we need to get. And just on the Facebook groups, I put it out there. There were some guys that were very generous and sent us some stuff that we needed, and we were able to get it in and dye it. So like all the interior stuff is the original interior, and then we re-dyed all the dash.
So it's been restored, right? Instead of replacing, you're restoring.
Correct.
Bringing it up to speed, right?
Yeah, the only thing is the dash pad. We did leather wrap, or it was wrapped to match the rest of the interior. All the door cards are aluminum. We have Techno Toy on the front door cards. They're ones, and then we modified them to work for OEM purposes. And then the back ones, we made them all. And then Elegant Interiors in Upland, California, they did the interior on it, recovering the Recaro seats and doing all the carpet and the headliner and the door panels in it.
Okay, amazing. So to kind of finish it off, what is left? Like what is left, and what is the purpose for you?
So what's left is we're actually going to take the car almost completely apart after this. And just clean it up a little bit more, and then it needs to get tuned, and yeah, we're gonna romp on it.
Start driving, right?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I mean, actually, I can't wait till you figure that out, because I want to be there. I want to see this thing go, because those numbers are just so good. And I'm excited, man. And I'm glad you guys.
Before you go though, I think there's 3 more big things.
Okay.
So that we didn't talk about. The bumpers front and back are completely one-off, made out of aluminum.
Okay.
The rear bumper, we took the body line on the side of the car and we continued it all the way around the car to tie it back in, and then the bumper was tucked in. The bead on the back bumper and in the front bumper is mimicking what the front bead was on the original front bumper, but it was made in aluminum to tuck and fit the body.
Got it.
The other big modification is we went with a TRD style wing, and we initially had a carbon fiber one. I didn't like the way it fit, so we made this one completely out of metal, fully enclosed it, and boxed it in. And so when I did this, I didn't tell JD about it. We built the wing, it was a big spot, and I just decided I needed to put something in there. And we threw the face in there, and then he didn't know about it until he came in, opened the hatch up the first time and saw it. And I mean, was that your favorite, or do you have other things now?
That's still my favorite part. I love that logo.
Let's go.
That's me waiting for the car to be done.
The peekaboo. I love that.
Literally saw my face. I was like, I'm gonna put it in the car.
So sick. Well, I mean, dude, just another. I mean, there's so many great builds out here,
That's what we're gonna try to do.
guys.
Thank you.
So glad to see that you guys made it out. I know a lot of cars were down to. You guys are down to the wire also, right?
Down to the minute.
Changing stuff in the parking lot.
If people want to find out more about the car, like what's the Instagram handle? We can.
JDLA_ and Empire Fabrications.
Empire_ Fabrications.
Okay. All right, guys.
Thank
you.